What was the most disturbing late-night phone call you've ever received? My friend Nancy has always been a feral little gremlin. One time when we were on a walk, a cute guy smiled at me and she literally started barking like a dog and yelling "predator" over and over until he practically ran away. Another time, I visited her on her first day of work in the local Starbucks when a man in front of me said good morning to her. "Don't harass me with your eye contact," she yelled before spitting into his coffee. And don't get me wrong, it was always super embarrassing. But overall, I thought Nancy was a good person who would eventually grow out of it. Spoiler alert, she never did. A few weeks later, her parents cut her off after she cut the brakes of her 17-year-old brother's car, all over finding a rubber in his room. Because to her, that meant he was taking advantage of young and impressionable girls. And since they were her only source of income, she now had nothing, because she was physically unable to hold a job too. So I did what any rational 18-year-old would do. I offered to pay her tuition for her, with the permission of my overly generous parents. I announced this to her over dinner. She didn't hug me, smile, or even say thanks. "That's cool," was all she said, before continuing to eat her dinner. I felt a little hurt because it took a lot of convincing from my parents, but I didn't want to make her feel like my love was conditional, so I just told her it was no problem. Luckily, when I went home that night, I got a text. It was her. I find it hard to express gratitude sometimes, but I really appreciate it. That made me smile. And that's when I knew Nancy was kind-hearted, just a little misunderstood, and mentally ill. So we continued to be best friends, until 2 months in when I met my boyfriend, Zach. I knew Nancy would insist on meeting him, so I gave him a full debrief on what she was like and how to best interact with her. I knew things were good when we were all hanging out together, and he went from his chatty, friendly self to completely quiet and reserved. The contrast was so obvious I had to stop myself from giggling. But I guess Nancy's wrath is unavoidable because that's when I took off my jumper. "You are so beautiful," Zach said with a flirty smile on his face. That's when Nancy narrowed her eyes at him. Zach immediately closed his mouth. He swallowed, face turning red like he'd been caught. "This is what happens when you shave your arms," she said. I raised an eyebrow because I genuinely didn't know what the F she was talking about. "You know, Lily." She angled her entire body towards me. I didn't want to say anything, but now I have to. "You've been brainwashed by the patriarchy, and now you're supporting kitty fiddlers." Well, this wasn't my first rodeo with Nancy and her antics, so I just smiled and nodded, hoping she would shut up soon. Luckily, she did, and for the rest of the day, neither me or Zach said anything. We just let her do the talking. I was honestly planning on forgetting about her little comment. I was lying beside Zach at 3 a.m. when she called me. "Lily, I need to tell you something." Her voice was shaky, hysterical. I honestly thought someone had died. "The only reason Zach likes you is because you look like a child, and you are 100% to blame for his kitty fiddling behavior because you shave and refuse to gain weight." She was on speakerphone, and Zach's face twisted in disbelief. "Nancy, I'm really tired. Can we talk about this later?" "The only reason I'm telling you this is because I love you," she interrupted, clearly loving the sound of her own voice. "Please think critically for once. Your boyfriend is a predator and you're a victim." By this point, I was ready to hang up and never speak to her again, but her call was so amusing that I decided to let her continue. "You know why you shave, right? It's because being hairless makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like that moment when you were a child and your neighbor stole your innocence didn't happen. But that's exactly what predators look for." Suddenly, the room was spinning. Zach grabbed my phone, hung up, and immediately held me while I violently cried in his arms. He didn't say anything, but I just knew that he wasn't judging me. When my tears finally ran out, he whispered into my ear that I would be safe with him, and I ended up just falling asleep, drooling in his lap. I didn't know it at the time, but Zach was about to make Nancy pay, and my life was about to change forever. The rest of the full story is on my channel and linked below.